Hello, welcome to the Always Be Comedy podcast. Our guest today is the great Ray Badran, one of the funniest dudes. Tim, I'd always assumed that Ray was one of the most naturally funny, but then he reveals more on this episode.
He does. I personally think maybe there's a bit of humility to that there, because I do think he is naturally hilarious. I think on stage and off stage Ray, they're quite similar in a great way. But yeah, tune in to find out more.
Well, also, we'd heard on the comedy grapevine that Ray Badran had hosted a podcast that went on for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Tim, I can safely say, it's not only the most we've ever talked about a single topic on the podcast, I think it's the most I've ever talked about a single topic in my life.
Yeah. It's covered extensively.
Check out how fascinated Tim and I were about the 24. So look, Ray does explain what's going on with it, the format, how it's going to come out, and so on, along with some exciting plans for the future. Tim, Ray has made it sound like an absolute, I'm going to swear, I apologise. No, I'm not going to swear. Cluster fudge. Let's go with that.
Very nice.
But that just makes me want to listen to it even more.
Yeah, it's going to be it's a really fascinating project. And it's one of those things where the longer it goes on, the more interesting it becomes, because you become aware of this 20-second hour non-stop they've been recording. It's going to be a really interesting project, and it's coming soon. There's no release date at the time of recording, but early next year.
If I had to guess, it would be January, February 2026.
Yeah, that's where I'm expecting.
I'd like to apologise for my pronunciation there. 2026. Tim, also, because it's 24 episodes, the fact that they've got the best part of 6 months feels very shrewd. Everything about it, I think, is great.
I think about that a lot. I actually think it's genius to have half your year of material done in a single day. I'm not sure I want to record 24 hours of podcasting consecutively, but I think it's very smart.
When Ray said that it took him a week to recover, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. The amount of things which would go astray if I took a week out, yeah, terrifying.
But anyway, look, we love Ray a lot, and if you come to Always Be Comedy, we're confident that you'll have seen Ray perform with us. At the time of recording, he emceed our Chelsea night last night. He emceed it last week. Ray Badran will be back at Always Be Comedy. You can follow Ray Badran across all the socials. It's not just Ray you can catch at Always Be Comedy. It's a lovely, seamless link. Tim, we're doing a secret show with Al Murray on Monday, the 8th of December, 9:15. We've given it a Glenn Murray show title, but it's actually Al Murray doing a work in progress to prepare for his tour. Monday, the 8th of December, 9:15, Al Murray at the Tommyfield. The show is called Palace Forward Glenn Murray, because we're just telling you guys in our newsletter. And then in the coming weeks and months, Tim, we start the new year, 2 lots of Mike Wozniak, 5th and 6th of January, previewing new show The Bench. There's the last few tickets for Ioade Bang Boyi on Wednesday the 7th of January. And then you can catch the likes of Flo and Joan, Finn Taylor, Bridget Christie, Clinton Baptiste, Annie Magliano, Rhys James, Joe Kent Walters is Frankie Monroe on debut, 15th of January, Michael Odewale, Phil Wang, Rachel Paris, and many, many more. Please visit alwaysbecomedy.com/tickets. We're also doing a sale on our t-shirts. So if you click the merch button, alwaysbecomedy.com/merch, tickets are now just £10. We wish this was some sort of Black Friday thing. The truth is we can't fit a Christmas tree in our lounge, and that means the t-shirts have to go. £10. And then also we're now doing our Christmas e-gifts. So if you want to buy the gift of laughter, you can do alwaysbecomedy.com/gifts. And there are different types of packages for, say, a pair of tickets to a Tommyfield show, a pair of tickets to a Chelsea show, a solo ticket. Check it out, alwaysbecomedy.com/gifts. I'll tell you who else is a gift. Ray Badran. Here he is, the great Ray Badran. Right. We're here today. We're joined one of the very best, one of the funniest. If you like your comedians funny, strap in for Ray Badran. But what's happened here is Tim and I, we do research. It's the least we can do, and we've both got the exact same thing that we're desperate to talk about. So, Tim, I suppose straight out the gates, we'd love to know more from Ray about the 24-hour podcast.
Good morning, guys. I guess, I just finished recording a 24-hour podcast with this guy. Well, I'm jumping on I want to create a podcast too, and this friend of mine, an artist in London called Babak, who has a radio show, asked me if I wanted to do something with him, and we could never sort of get together to record all the episodes, and so the premise was that we'll do them all back to back in one day, and that's what we did. We recorded 24 episodes straight for 24 hours, no breaks.
Thing is it, Tim? That is such a chuffing good idea, isn't it?
Well, the idea is good in theory, and then in practice, it does have a few holes in it. Like, so we're just in the process now of sort of reviewing it all, and I know we're talking about, you were just mentioning earlier about editing, slight editing on this podcast or whatever, and saying things you don't want to say, or accidentally slipping up and saying something you don't want in there. Over 24 hours, when you're so tired, you're just talking out your ass. You don't even know what you're saying, and so there's so much regrettable, it's just awkward stuff in there.
So which way are you leaning? Are you leaning towards take it out or keep it in?
Well, we have to take it out. There's a lot, like the episode where Ed Gamble comes on, Ed Gamble's on, so potentially our highest profile guest on the series. So, like, in the sense that people are probably going to go to that episode. He's late. So we've got 24 guests booked in over 24 hours, and they have to come for that time slot, and he's late. So we have to pad, and he's about the 13th hour in, and we're just brain dead. So we have nothing to say for about 30 minutes. Absolutely nothing to say. And just a lot of umming and ahhing for about 30 minutes before he gets there and us checking the watch. And we're trying to say stuff and we're trying to be entertaining, but yeah, it doesn't make great listening though.
Well, can it still go out as a 30-minute episode?
Well, yeah. So we're in the process now of editing it, and then we're gonna re-record intros of the length that we've edited. So they're still an hour each, and it's still 24 hours. And the intros are us reflecting over each episode, sort of reflecting over our mental state at that point and stuff like that.
Now, Ed Gamble is one of the most honourable people on the circuit, and so we've done gajillions of gigs with him. And Tim. Not only is he punctual, he's early. So he must have had a great reason.
He did. He had another commitment, and he'd squeezed us in, and that had run over. And he was punctual, and he was messaging me along the way. So we did have, like, we were aware that he was going to be late, sort of thing.
It almost adds another bit of frisson, though, doesn't it? A level of jeopardy to the listener.
It does, and that starts off well. Like in episode 2, we straight. And the other problem was that we sort of got obsessed with doing it from midnight to midnight. So from on the clock, 24-hour time, 000 to 24, and each episode being an hour of one day, Monday. But the problem with that, whilst that sounds good in theory, the problem with that is that you're starting at midnight, so you're already pretty tired. You're already very tired. So, like, from the get-go, it was like I was regretting it. From about 15 minutes in, I was like, oh, dear God, what have we done? And I've only listened to the first episode so far. And even in that, there's just a few things where I'm just... I'll sort of say something and I'll forget a part of what I'm saying. I'm just a bit not there. I can already see it. So I don't know what it's going to be like later on in the series. But that said, the jeopardy that is created, like, so episode 2, we didn't have a guest, and that's 2 a.m. our guest pulled out for 2 a.m. slot during that day. But during the lead up to this, a photographer had got in touch with me asking if she could photograph the event. And I think she thought it was a bit more of an actual event than it was. She was thinking that it was like, she said she wants to be a part of it, and it's like, so she really thought it was a bit more of an event than it was, like a bit more of a cultural event almost, or something like that.
So she's expecting to turn up, and there's almost like a TV level set. She's expecting like the One Show or something.
I think so. I mean, she's done my photos before, and she knows me, and I know her personally. But she's just well into the idea, and she's really into it, and she wants to come and photograph the event. And she's asked me, can I come at midnight at the beginning, and can I come at the end and get photos of you at both points? And during the lead up to doing this and that, it was so stressful that I sort of couldn't reply to her. And I replied and I said, look, leave it with me, I'll let you know. But it was getting too stressful that we couldn't really have another person there at that point. However, during the first episode, I realized we needed a guest for 2 a.m. So I message her at 12:45 a.m. saying, if I get you an Uber, will you come down to my friend's apartment? And so she comes down, and we get her on as a guest for 2 a.m. So there is a bit of jeopardy along the way where we're sort of like, yeah, picking up the pieces and moving along with it.
It's almost like Richard Linklater would make a movie out of this.
Well, we said it was going to be adolescence, but like adolescence, unedited. But the problem is, adolescence wasn't improvised, so that was the big problem. So, but yeah, look, we'll see what it turns out to be. It was a fun, interesting experiment, and yeah, I hope it turns out well. I'd love to do it again. I'd love to do it. I want to do it. Try to do a live one in. This would be the goal if I can pitch it to do in Edinburgh this next year.
Yeah, great.
Do it for 24. And the premise being there, I can't afford the month's accommodation, so I'm trying to do the 24 live shows in one day, so I don't have to get the 24. So that would be the goal with it at the moment. So
hang on, you would do 24 Edinburgh shows in a day, or you do the podcast again, 24 episodes in a day?
You do 24. I did 24 different podcasts in a day over 24 hours. Yeah,
with 24 different guests, a la this one.
Yeah. So the thing is, they're actually meant to be individual episodes of a podcast designed to be individually listened to, but naturally you get a storyline of just someone going mad as they're hosting it.
Is that someone you, Ray?
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Tim.
So you start at midnight. What's your day like before? Like, are you preparing your normal day?
Oh, sorry. What was my normal day like before?
Well, are you just having a normal day?
Just stressed about it. And the problem was that my friend Babak and I put it together with our producer Hugh, and it was a lot to put on. It was an actual event towards the end, like organising these 24 guests, and like it was not as easy as just turning on a podcast and turning on a thing and recording and chatting for 24 hours. Like we had to have like we had help, like people like line producing and helping us organise the guests and keep them in a waiting area that we had, and so we could keep it running smoothly. And anyway, we had to work so hard on it leading up to it that we'd spoken so much to each other that by the time it started, I honestly had nothing to say to them, and I just didn't want to see them or didn't want to speak to them whatsoever, because
that is a thing. I used to do a radio show with Dan Clark about movies, and it was best when I walked in and we hadn't said a word to each other and we went live on air. And there was one week we both got there early and had a half-hour natter. And then when the show went live, we were done. We'd like, oh, the good chat was was in the waiting room. Yeah. So is that a lesson for next time? Maybe deliberately give each other a wider berth and then keep the vibes fresh.
I guess so. I mean, that will naturally happen I mean, that's just a natural problem of doing it over and over again, you know. I'm sorry, doing it for the first time and having all those, you know, not doing it on our own without like a big production company or anything like that, you know. If you I guess if you got it to a level where you could get so much help that it was all done and you could just turn up, but that's very far away.
Have you videoed it as well?
Yeah, we videoed it. We changed. We had 24. The idea was like 24 outfit changes, so it'd get changed in between each, like at the beginning of each episode, and yeah. But the video will be just dreadful. It'd just be dreadful. I'd look over sometimes, and the producer would just be asleep. We'd just be asleep, sitting there like that. But he could have a little bit of a sleep. He just needed to get it going and then get it out, like, and then once it was like going, yeah, he could have a little bit.
Now, I imagine what every listener is thinking is, once you wrap, you finished it.
Yeah.
Talk us through the night's sleep that you had. Did you have the sleep of legends? Was it a 10-hour straight through job?
It annoyingly wasn't. Like, it was because the whole thing was quite like, it's not to sound too dramatic, but it was quite traumatic, the whole thing. Like, I finished. I didn't want to speak to those guys again. I didn't want to see them. I was like, nah. They were just so annoying. And then I got home and I was a bit buzzing from it and having a lot of thoughts, reflecting over it. Because, like I said, it's 24 hours straight, no breaks, not even like, not a toilet break, nothing. As in, we had the intro song go for quite long. We had an outro song that gives us about 5 minutes to get up and go to the toilet or do whatever you need to do. But apart from that, there's no breaks. So there's kind of no time for mental reflection until after it was all done. So the sleep that night was actually pretty poor. I reckon it took me about a week to get back to normal from that. Yeah. If you're doing it takes you a while. Yeah.
So what are you eating during the show as well?
Yeah, we got Deliveroo a few times, coffees and stuff like that, and I was eating a bit, but not heaps. So that was another problem as well. Our diet was just, not that the diet needs to be perfect, but you know, you just kind of only got your sleep and food for energy, and we're not doing any of that.
Thing is though, for this sort of thing, you need the sure. Hang on, I'm not trying to be like Mr. Positive I'm not just saying this because you're my friend. But surely this is what you want. You want the chaos. You want things to go wrong because no one's listening to that podcast thinking this is going to be 24 hours of smooth listening.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, I guess like all chaos, like chaos at a comedy night or anything like that, you want controlled chaos to a degree, not just like the microphones are working, people are umming and ahhing for too long, like, you know, and this and that, and it's just umming and ahhing and just, well, what are we got on next? And this was happening too, and I'm sure the whole thing's quite a blur, but this was happening. Because I'm like so tired, I'm sort of repeating similar stories on episodes, the same story quite a lot of times, maybe like 4 times or 3 or 4 times. I say, I've got about 6 stories, and I think I say them on various episodes, and I'm like, I just sort of say it again, you know, like, so, but look, we'll see what it's like. Yeah, we'll see what it's like.
I would say on double, if a TV record's been a double, there've been times where I've collared an audience member and I've gone, have I told a story about blah blah blah, and they've gone, no, you're all right, great, and that. So I think that's just that's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
When is this thing meant to come out?
Well, now we've got to edit 24 episodes, and we're trying to get it out by the beginning of next year.
Right. I can't wait.
January. So January 2026.
Yeah.
What is the name of the podcast, Ray?
It's called Babak and Ray Have Nothing to Say. We went through a couple of title names. 24-hour podcast people is one of them.
Is 20, because my immediate guess was 24-hour podcast people. Is it? Did you ditch that because it's too obvious?
No, it was a toss-up between that one and Babak and Ray Have Nothing to Say, and I think I'll go with Babak and Ray Have Nothing to Say because it gets the audience ready that we have nothing to say. We have nothing to say, and 24-hour podcast, people, I think is good, and I think it's a catchy working title. But I think it's obvious that
It's too on the nose.
maybe a little bit, yeah. It's parodying the movie, which is fine, but I don't know. It's a bit more classy. Babak and I have nothing to say, and we put it in the title. That's in the theme song. I don't know. I'm easy though. I'm easy either way.
So will Baddock go to Edinburgh as well then?
Oh, this is all a big maybe. I've got to pitch it to Edinburgh.
Sorry, I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm mentally making the poster.
I've got to pitch it to a room and stuff like that that'll have me for 24 hours. I don't even know if licensed. I know Mark Watson does a 24-hour show, but this is 24 one-hour shows, so it's a bit different. So yeah, we'll see.
There'll be something.
Tim, as Mr. Edinburgh, what are your thoughts there? Who would be a good shout, you think?
Monkey Barrel will be up for it, I think.
Yeah, I do the table tennis show there, so maybe they'll
They've gone with your wacky ideas before. They'll go with them again.
Yes.
Ray, one thing I wanted to ask as well. Tim, I think in the history of the podcast, I think that's the most we've ever asked about a single topic.
Yeah, well, I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's part of me that wants to ask more.
Yeah. I kind of came up with the idea ages ago, right? Because Guy Montgomery had a friend, fantastic New Zealand comedian, Guy Montgomery, who obviously in different countries, but it kind of started. He used to come to Sydney a lot, and I would go to New Zealand. We made a web series for Comedy Central a long time ago together. But I just had not a rivalry with him, not by no means rivalry, but I used to just try annoy him all the time. I still kind of do, but I don't see him that much anymore. And he had a podcast called The Worst Idea of All Time. I think he still does have that podcast. And the premise being where him and his friend watched Sex and the City 2 every week. And they just watch it every week. And they sort of chat over a bit of director's commentary.
So what? That is the episode every single week is them watching and talking over Sex and the City 2?
Yes. And they sort of notice a few more things each time. And
amazing.
And then to sort of like capitalize off that and one up it, I was going to make a podcast where I listened to their podcast each week, the episode of their podcast each week, and I listened to that. And I was just going to do it to the amount of, and then so from that I sort of had this idea of doing all the episodes. I thought, it's not a bad idea if you did it all in one day, 24 episodes in one day. That's 6 months. If you release that weekly, that's 6 months worth of content weekly, so that's 24. So it actually kind of became a legitimate idea from that, where I was like, well, it's actually quite a cost-effective or time-effective, idea, because it's 1 day's recording for 6 months worth of content.
So it all came from that.
Yeah.
But also, I think with this, the listener is going to be thinking, I can't wait for next week because I'm going to see how much further into madness they go.
Yeah, I hope so. It's just, yeah, I hope so, and I appreciate the support.
I think it's the best podcast idea I've heard since Dead Eyes.
Oh, please tell me about Dead Eyes.
Well, this is it comes back to Ed Gamble. This is an Ed Gamble recommendation. An actor went to audition for Band of Brothers, and their agent ended up feeding back to them that Tom Hanks thinks that you have dead eyes, not realizing the profoundly hurtful impact this would have on this. I'm trying to remember the name of it's an American comedian, but they also act as well. And so the podcast is them. There's two things going on. They get other actors and comedians on to share their own similar dead eye stories where somebody said something mildly horrific at an audition. People like Seth Rogen, if memory serves, and I think Zach Braff. But anyway, get some good names. But then also the overarching storyline is them trying to find out what on earth happened there, and did Tom Hanks really say this, and who else was in the room, and so on. and it's a very, it's a smart idea, and they really execute it. But I think what you're saying here, Ray, I think I'd put that right up there.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you. Yeah.
Would the plan, if this goes well, this then becomes a yearly pod of 24 episodes?
Oh, well, I guess what you could do if it went well is, because that was just Monday. We did it on Monday, so we could do Tuesday, we could do Wednesday, we could do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess, and then so it could be seven series of
the next 7 years mapped out.
I
Stephen Bartlett would applaud that, having a 7-year plan.
Well, we gotta say it was very although I said it was like time efficient and that, it's emotionally toll. It was emotionally toll.
Do you want to spoil the end of Dead Eyes?
Yeah, please spoil the end.
Right, spoiler. So, skip forward 30 seconds or whatever. He does end up. He manages to land Tom Hanks as a guest.
Oh, great!
And if you liked Tom Hanks before, you will adore him because he comes across so well. Tom Hanks is horrified, and I think comes to the conclusion. I think he said something like, I don't remember saying it, but you've got to appreciate that when you have these meetings, what's said in there is like the equivalent of what's said in a sports locker room. It's sacrosanct. Yeah. We all say things in those private moments that aren't going to get repeated. So he's just horrified that this got back to him. And then at the end, he said, "The next project I've got, you're in. I'm going to get you a part."
Yeah, cool. That's pretty cool.
Now, before we move on, we've done nearly half an hour on the podcast. Do you, in the way that this guy dreamed of getting Tom Hanks, have you fan cast? Are the guys you'd love to get on there for future installments?
Oh, the biggest guest of all. I mean, like it's a catch-22 because this is not a great interview for this person to come on to.
Yeah, but that's part of it. You want someone who gets it, don't you? Let's say I'm trying to think someone who I think seems like Tim and I love them. Emma Stone, right? I think she's got a great sense of humour. Imagine someone like that. They listen to the pod, right? Hang on. They say to their team, next time I'm in England. I've got to do this thing. I know that's ridiculous. But Emma Stone, for example, the reason why I picked her, she's a lifelong SNL anorak, and one of her lifelong dreams was to host SNL, and then the dream comes true.
Yeah. I guess in that sense, who is someone? I don't want a comedian. Then I want someone that's so famous that's going to make fun of themselves in a refreshing way for the first time. So
I think Tandy Newton did the Big Nasty Show because one of her kids loved the Big Nasty Show.
Yeah, that's like what's my name? Larry David in Hannah Montana.
What?
He's in he's in Hannah Montana for his granddaughter, his daughter, or his niece, or something like that. Yeah, so he does a cameo in that, and I'm sure it's Hannah Montana. And it's just like the only show he's cameoed in, sort of thing, And he sort of is playing a bit of a Larry David in it too, so it's quite funny. Like, yeah.
Honestly, that is so up my street. My kids watch iCarly. It's like a Nickelodeon show, and they shout me in, "Daddy, Jack Black is in iCarly," and I'm like, "No, he's not." And I walk in, Jesus Christ, it must be the same sort of thing. If you're a genuine fan of something, you're like, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Larry David is the dream then.
I guess so. Yeah, probably Larry David. Larry David would be the dream, I guess. Yeah. I mean, he would be a dream. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So look out for the pod, January. There'll be publicists listening to this episode going, yeah, next time you got someone on, can you mention their album or their tour as much as you talked to Ray Badran about his podcast? You talked about someone else's podcast on your own podcast for half an hour. Yeah, because we were...
And the best part, it's not even officially a podcast. At the moment, it's just a recording. It's still a recording, So I appreciate it. You've motivated me.
Well, look, if you have a shred of Tim and my enthusiasm for your own pod, you're onto a winner here. I once interviewed I've interviewed lots of big names down the years, just as through my, I used to be a journalist, right? But I once interviewed James Cameron, and the film Aliens is such a favourite of mine, but he was there to promote Terminator 2. They brought it back out on 3D, and I'm talking about Aliens so much and asking him so many questions that at one point he goes, "This is not a good use of your time."
Oh God! Oh my God!
And you know what? He is correct. He was absolute, because he's there to promote a certain thing, and this jabbering buffoon. What about the bit where Sigourney Weaver says, blah, 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 blah?" So
when he says that to you, are you flapping?
I took it in the spirit it was intended, and I was apologetic, and I'm immediately pivoted to, because I'm not saying this, I am in the wrong there. It's fine. I think it's fine to have a couple of questions about it if it's a film that means a lot to you, but I don't think I'm over egging it when I look back, and I think I probably was, because it's not really for me to say this. I used to get some really good gigs because I think the publicists and so on knew that they'd get a good interview because I'm Mr. Positive and I care and all of that. But on that one, I let my fandom probably get in the way of,
Sure.
So James, if you're listening, there's no better way of making things up than by appearing on season 2 of. Right, Ray. One thing I wanted to ask: what is this is like a Jerry Seinfeld question? What's the deal? Why is it that in Britain we love our Aussie comedians as much as we do?
Oh,
Because this goes back to Barry Humphries. We obviously love Paul Hogan. There's yourself, there's Sam Cam, there's Sarah Kendall. I mean, I probably shouldn't have started naming them. There are so many. I just wonder.
I could also give you a list of people that haven't though as well. Not in a harsh way, but it's just like you're probably only seeing the cream of the crop, and at any given time there is, 20 or so comedians floating around, Australian comedians floating around the UK, trying stuff. But you're right, there is. I think what it is, we're very, so compared to other Commonwealth countries, say like a Canada or Canadians or other country, London is quite an international hub, a very cosmopolitan city. It's not really spoken about that much, really. Like how many people move to London to do stand-up comedy? Like Bill Hicks lived here for a bit to do stand-up and stuff. Patrice O'Neill, some big American comedians, and they all still travel through now. And Australian comedians have always travelled through. Canadians have been here a bit. And obviously Scottish and Irish and Welsh and all the European people. That said, our comedy scene in Australia is probably like a 10% version of your comedy scene. So we have a big festival and we have some small club gigs around. So it's a similar transition, but a bigger and better transition. And I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying maybe we adapt better to this scene a bit better because of that. Maybe, yeah.
And you're right. Maybe if there were, what I've done there is I've picked out some amazing comedians. Maybe the fact that they're Australian maybe isn't relevant. Maybe it's just the fact that I've picked out,
No, there is
top tier of comedian.
Even outside of those comedians, when I started in Sydney, where I'm from, there were some comedians who've since sort of all gone mad, actually.
Oh, you know what? I think I know of a couple. We'll have to beat those out, unfortunately, because
they're not going to be listening to this podcast unless you title this podcast something like that says climate change isn't real and the vaccine maybe have a second head. They're not listening to this podcast. Don't worry about it, But
no, but there's always a snitch tagger out there, though, isn't there? There's always a snitch tagger. I did a routine about Wimbledon tennis and about people not thanking the ball boys and ball girls, and someone snitch tagged Yannick Sinner. And that, Tim, that's not the worst thing I said about Yannick Sinner in the room that night.
No, no, no. It's just thankfully to make it onto an Instagram reel.
Do you think sometimes too much pressure is put on people? You know, if an act is told you are the new X, it must be discombobulating.
Sometimes once again though, there's cases of that happening, and there's cases of people riding with that very well, like Ramesh Ranganathan, Ronnie Cheng from Australia, blessed careers, you know, like right guys for the right time, very good at their job, and always rose to the challenge as it rose, you know, as the challenges came, and they had a smooth transition, you would say, but as fast as you can go up to their level, you know. It wasn't an overnight success like a Ricky Gervais or, say, Brett Goldstein, where it's like not overnight success, where it's a bit more of a curveball. It was smoother, but like these guys could have been megalomaniacs. These guys could have sort of gone off the rails, you know what I mean, I guess, with the hype they had.
One of the things with Rom as well, I think the fact that he lived in the real world, and so the fact that he'd been a teacher, I think that keeps both feet on the ground. And so when people were saying you're brilliant, you know, his mindset was probably, oh, what a lovely thing to say, and I'm going to carry on working really hard, you know, rather than yes, and I'll show the world. You know, he's an executive producer once said to me about Romesh that Romesh now. It's sort of impossible for him to disappear up his own wazoo because he's been lovely Romesh ever since the open mic days, and that, you know, he's always maintained that consistent niceness. One of the many reasons that he gets booked is because he's brilliant, obviously, but he's also lovely to work with and says please and thank you, and he's punctual and so on. And obviously that isn't the case with lots of people. Yeah. And then also, I mean, the Brett one is unusual in that, you know, we knew that Brett had been a brilliant comedian for 15 years. There's a Jose Mourinho quote. Jose Mourinho once said, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success. And Brett Goldstein sort of like, it took him 15 years to be, you know, maybe it's closer to 10 perhaps when Lasso first came out. But the way Brett did it was amazing because he then becomes a megastar, but we know that he's got 10 plus years, maybe 15 years of being an amazing comedian in his locker so that he can then go on that American tour and he's got all that gear to draw from.
But in your time of doing comedy, have you ever seen anyone
disappear up their own arse?
No, go from like, I guess like Ricky Gervais would have been similar. I mean, that's before my time and I was in a different country, but like he'd been doing it for like 10 or so, 15 years, hadn't he? Or whatever, like doing these university gigs and his radio show and stuff like that.
I'm not sure, you know. I think he'd done that radio show, but I don't know how much stand-up he'd done. I think when he does that Animals tour, I think he's relatively newish to stand-up.
Yeah, that would make sense. But yeah, but it did seem like he'd potted around a bit. He was on that Late Show, that show as well.
Oh, and I mean, I
did see a photo of him and Jimmy Carr and Stuart Lee and maybe Robert Ince from Edinburgh, like a long time ago. So
that's right. Yeah, you're right. Oh no, hang on. No, is that Ricky or is that not Stephen Merchant?
It's Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant, maybe Stuart Lee and Robin Ince. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, or maybe it's Jimmy Carr and Robin Ince.
Maybe it's Jimmy Carr and Robin Ince. But it was there, and I remember thinking, oh man, he did Edinburgh as well. I didn't know he did Edinburgh or whatever. I didn't know. But
Ricky on that 11 o'clock show popped so hard. He was
when people
brilliant.
People ask me a question. I guess when someone outside of comedy would ask you a question like anyone you know like blown up, like really successful, anyone you know blown up. And there's obviously people I know that are pretty successful and people that are, but those people I would use the term blown up, like they blew up, like sort of thing, like yeah. Whereas like a Ramesh and I didn't know Ramesh, but Ronnie Cheng was, I'd say, similar trajectory.
You're right, because then Ramesh gets, say, Russell Howard's Good News, so he gets that, he's the stand-up on that, then he gets, say, Apollo, then he's doing panel shows, so you're right, the Ramesh thing.
It's fast, but it's like that, it's like,
yeah,
he was, Brett that's like this, and then it's like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've got to really watch the video to see Ray and myself, what hand actions we're doing here. But yeah, Ramesh, he's sort of like a straight line going up, and then Brett is more like, we know on the circuit, brilliant, 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 and then Lasso just, fuck me, like a vertical line,
It would be like a sine wave. Is that a sine wave going up and down,
and then just intergalactic?
Yeah.
It would be like, hang on, I don't sound like I'm
Self-aggrandising is inverse. I think it's inversely exponential would be if you were to plot it out mathematically.
Oh, Ray, yes, please.
What would I know?
Are you a maths guy?
I am.
Are you?
I was a mathematician, yeah. And I did a science degree at university. Well, I don't know if it's exponential or inversely exponential, but it's like it gets bigger. Yeah, anyway. So.
It's this one.
Oh, that's So yeah, that's enough on the graph stuff.
Ray, I couldn't have loved that more. But also with this, just to bring it back to the podcast. Were you of the
so much pressure on this podcast? I'm like thinking, I've got like the producer messaging me about my edit notes not being late and stuff like that, and I haven't sent that in, and I've also recorded another podcast that I should mention that I'm just like, and I'm just all I've done so far. I mean, all we've all done is spoke about this potential podcast that's in the works.
So what's the other podcast?
I host a gig in London, Moth Club, and they're launching a podcast. So I'm sort of hosting that with a couple of the other comedians there, and
right.
General.
So do you record that at the gig, or is that is that away from the gig?
It was done in the green room after the show. We've done a couple of sort of pilot episodes and test episodes, and I think we'll launch that also next year. So I've gone from 0 to 2 podcasts.
Wow, great! Sounds brilliant.
Absolutely love it, Ray. So did you come to the conclusion, because there's obviously we say this a lot on this pod, there's not much comedy on telly getting made. So do you think, right, I'm just making this happen myself?
With the podcast and that? Yeah. I mean, I've actually been lucky enough. I got a pilot with BBC Studios. I've done 2 pilots with my friend Gwyn from BBC Studios. One we did together as an audio pod. So I actually don't listen to that many podcasts, which is maybe why I can come up with a refreshing idea, because I haven't listened to that many. So we did one, which was me and him made this ourselves, which was called Would You Like to Be a Millionaire? It was my own version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but I was doing it in Vietnam because I realized $1 million Vietnamese dong was only 33 pounds. So I was like, I could pretty much put on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in Vietnam, So we made a pilot. We made a pilot called Would You Like to Be a Millionaire? Would You Like to Be a Millionaire? And it was me hosting that, and was for Vietnamese dong. It was quite stupid because the first 10 questions, it sort of rounds back down to 0 again. And we had these big checks for the payments, and they were sort of worth more than the money we'd written on them. And instead of like the lifelines, instead of phone a friend, you would phone one of my friends and stuff like that. So we made that audio pilot. And that was my first time doing it. And that was pretty good. And that was like, just learning along the way. The problem is you just don't get that many, you're learning along the way. And yeah. And then I did another one with the BBC Studios during COVID with all my neighbours in my apartment building, with all my different neighbours. And I sent that around to a few people, and one of them being BBC Studios got back and they gave me funding for a pilot with, and that was a really cool experience. But that was a really cool experience. We made that. But my next door neighbor was a musician. We had different people come on as guests, and it was sort of, it was kind of cool. But I can't remember what made me go on this rant. What was
I'll say this though: for a scientist and a mathematician, you're an artist at heart, though, aren't you? Because all every idea, including the podcast that we've talked about for 50 minutes now, these are like big art with a capital A ideas, aren't they?
Oh, that's sweet of you. I remember why I went on this big rant, because you asked me why did I make this thing? I guess I've tried to make a few of these things before, and I want to make something. Yeah, and all you get when you get funding from someone nowadays, unless you're really going to a place that has like proven hit after hit, like a HBO or something like that. And BBC's obviously a big one, but like you're only just getting a bit of money, which is for a podcast is not that much money, you know. So to apply for the pitch is a lengthy process, you know, 6, 7, 8 months, you know, you're pitching back and forth, chatting to people, get this money. And, you know, you're just like, oh, I just want to try and make it with my friend now and let's do it. And so that's sort of why we did it. And yeah.
I mean, I know I've told this story before, but Finn Taylor had an idea with the channel. Went on for 2 years, 2 years of work, and then they went nah, and that's what inspired him to make his own stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, man. And I appreciate the compliment. The art thing, but I think there's a level of science behind the ideas, sort of science behind the ideas. I think they're more like sort of logical, abstract ideas, if that makes sense. A bit more
24 times 1 hour equals madness.
Well, I think that's a bit more abstract, where Rob Auden would be a bit more art with a capital A or something like that, where someone with a bit more it's still an idea, it's still based off writing. And I guess when I did a science degree, what got me into comedy was like I thought I can use my brain, I can come up with ideas, I could train myself to come up with ideas. The acting part's going to be hard, like the performing part's going to be harder. That's what I remember thinking. So I think it's like, yeah.
You're such a natural, Ray.
Oh, that's pretty sweet, but I'm not. I'm actually really not. And I just really realised that I had to get on stage heaps to make it look natural.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I could have been. I'm way less of a natural than most people by country mile.
Honest to goodness, Tim's pulling the same face.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
If we had to pick naturally funny, you're
It's
the mayor of that list.
I mean, I hate to even say this or admit this, but it's the complete opposite. It's utter insecurity, just masked by pushing it deep down and pretending like I don't care. Like that's what it is. But yeah, because it's just so unnatural and crazy. I don't have anyone in my family that's ever worked in the arts or done anything like that. I have no role models, like in that sense, you know, apart from the people I've met and doing it, and but I have no. So it was just like I just remember thinking I just got to go up on stage as much as possible. Just got to go up on stage as much as possible.
Right, Ray, you are curating your fantasy comedy gig. Do you have any pre-gig rituals?
No, none whatsoever, to the point where it's my detriment. I just shit myself a bit, look at the audience. I should, though. I have started to try. Do people answer these seriously or funnily?
It totally depends, because some people do have like genuine things that they have to do, whereas say Josh Pugh, which an episode we could never put out unfortunately because Josh's internet was. We're desperate to. We love Josh enormously, so we will do it again with him. But his really stands out because and you can probably relate to this. He got to a point where he deliberately made sure that he didn't have any pre-gig rituals, so that he wasn't getting in his own head and that he could just go on stage and crack on.
Well, I feel like my pre-gig ritual, the best gig for me would be, you know, you already know your set, so you don't have to worry about that. You've been doing it. Whatever, so that's fine. You're not worried about your set, and you're there, and you're just in a good mood, a good vibe with your friends, just chatting like that. So it keeps you in a good mood, and also keeps your mind off the gig, sort of thing. I find looking at the audience for too long is bad. I find it only goes downhill when I look at the audience for too long. I find people that aren't going to like me, or find people that I think won't get into it or whatever. So, you know, you just want to get the vibe of the room, feel good, hang out with some friends, get in a good mood. Maybe a bit of breath work, calm down. But once you're doing that shit, then you're in your head, you know, and it's just like, what are you doing then?
Because you're right, the breath work, almost paradoxically, can be counterproductive, can't it? Because the whole point of it, but then as soon as you're doing that, you're thinking you're almost psyching yourself out.
Well, maybe if you'd started with the breath work though and the meditation and that was a way, I actually think that would probably be the best way to do it though. To start with it, start with a few positive affirmations, do that and then go out. But the fact is I haven't started like that. I haven't done that. And this is the way I do it. And this is the way I think to do that now would be such a
You're too far gone.
heavy statement of like preparation. But my friend Dan Rath meditates sometimes before a gig. I'll see him. He'll walk off and do a bit of put on some music and meditate a bit.
Who would MC this gig?
I would like to work with my friend. I always have like hanging out with my friend John Cruikshank. He's a guy I just started with.
So hang on. Is John MCing or you're MCing to bring on your pals?
Oh, I don't know who's MCing, man. I need it to be in safe hands. And man, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but I think I might have you in there to keep it in safe hands, I might get you in there to keep it in safe hands as a host.
Look, thank you very much. That's very kind.
Where my head's at. This is where my head's at, and this is probably a bad side of why I can focus on my career a bit more. I'm treating this as a social occasion now. I've just started realizing I'm already treating it as a party. I'm like, which friends do I want there? Which ones do I want to hang out with? So I've made the show secondary here, which is a problem to the question, or maybe not a problem to the question. I would have
but then the vibes. This is what's behind ABC a lot of the time. We think the vibes then transmit on the stage to the crowd.
I agree with you on that, but like, you could design the Homer Simpson car if you just put all your favorite shit in it. You know what I mean? Do you know that reference?
Mate, that is the goal. I mean, that is the golden age, isn't it?
Yeah. So, as in, you just when PSG had Neymar, Messi,
it was a mess. It didn't work, did it?
It didn't work, did it? Yeah. So there needs to be a bit of shade in there, and then I agree. Whilst I agree with you, I think there's a bit of
the balance.
Well, yeah, there's a balance.
Yeah, and also what you mustn't have, and we try. Sorry, go on, Ray.
Well, it's kind of like what a good artist, so they're like, they're just saying what they think. That's to a degree true, but like the customer's always right too. It has to work as well. So there's a balance. You can't just do what you want that doesn't work, and so there's a bit of that.
Do you remember that Talking Funny where Gervais says something like, "I don't care what the audience think," or something like that, and Seinfeld goes, "You should, you should."
Yeah.
Because I can't remember, but he says, "Because that's the audience," as in like.
Yeah.
I know what Gervais means, but I also know what Jerry means.
Yeah, I think he's been a bit arrogant there, Seinfeld. So Gervais, because you have to care. Like you have to care. He's full of shit too. Say that Gervais too.
Well, a chef wouldn't say, "I don't care if the punter thinks my meal is disgusting."
And he would have.
You should.
You can't. You wouldn't be saying that after like 10 nights of dying and like people booing and this and that. Maybe he's very rebellious, but like yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go my good friend John, who I am lucky to have a friend like him. I'm lucky to have someone who I started with in to call back to a person you've mentioned a few times on this pod already, maybe in some of the edited parts, but Josh Pugh, I would say this guy kind of reminds me a bit of Josh Pugh. They actually got along very well when they met each other. He's an Australian guy. He's an electrician, a tradie, but he's a really good comedian, joke writer, made a fantastic web series online called Redfern Electrical, which is sort of based around his electrical business. Have you seen it, Tim?
I've seen it. The first time I saw it
Amazing.
Was because Josh was wearing a Redfern Electrical sweatshirt or something.
Yeah.
And then you're in it.
Yeah, I would do a little cameo in it, but like, but yeah, I'm lucky to have, in this industry where everyone's running their own race and it's sort of ever changing and stuff like that, and people drop in and drop out, and friendships can be a bit fickle. I'm grateful to have someone that I've just started with and that's just been there the whole time, and so he's got to go in the lineup.
Right, that's lovely. So that's the opener. So
yeah.
who's in the middle?
at the risk of having an all-male lineup, which is what I'm going to have right now, I'd probably put Sam Campbell in the middle. I don't want to follow Sam, so Sam can actually close the show in the middle like that, or maybe John can even go in the middle, and I'll open. I'm not no.
So bad as his opening, and you've opened at our place, and it works a treat. John's in the middle.
Yeah.
Now Sam Campbell. One of the shows he did at Always Be Comedy, he plays the video. Well, maybe I shouldn't spoil it if you've not seen it, but there's a bit where he plays a video, and it's where Sam has an outfit on, and maybe I'd leave it at that. And I told Sam this after the show. While that scene played out, the giddy comedy nerd voice in my head said, "This is what comedy is capable of." You know, I just think this guy is someone who is. I mean, this is such a compliment. He's actually moving the medium forwards. That is how. I mean, how many people can you say that about? You know, Chaplin, Python. You know, I mean, this is the highest compliment. I think this dude is. I mean, Paul McCaffrey said to me and Tim. Paul McCaffrey thinks that Sam Campbell is the greatest comedian he's ever seen.
Oh wow! Yeah,
Campbell he's just he's extraordinary.
He's super inspiring. I'm very grateful to have started with him and have him as one of my good friends. Yeah, he's fantastic. Fantastic comedian. Really good on every account. Like, you know, writing, performing, stagecraft, like the putting the set together, the whole thing is fantastic. Yeah.
Well, one thing you guys have got in common, and again, huge compliment rate. You've got your own thing going on. There's no one quite like either of you. Was that a deliberate when you started up? Was that deliberate? I'm going to be my own dude.
Once again, much the opposite. Like much the opposite. I think I did. You do notice. You know, I do think that the only one of the only things that link all the good comedians, apart from the fact that they can do the job, is that they are their own unique voice, you know, to a degree. And so I guess I'm lucky that I was a unique voice, I guess, a unique person. I am, I don't know. I don't like to talk about myself like that too much, but I used to think when I was starting that I was a bit bland and a university student just doing one-liner jokes. And so I used to think the opposite of that. And I feel like I've sort of, the more I've done it, the more you're able to sort of develop a bit more of a unique persona.
You and Sam are pals as well. That must be a lovely thing where you've got a pal, you're both from the other side of the world, but there's a familiar face in your immediate universe. I mean, that's priceless.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel blessed for the generation of Australian comedians that I came up with, and he is in that generation. I mean, I did when I signed with this agency in Sydney, he signed with the same agency, and so did another Australian comedian, Aaron Chen, and another one, Becky Lucas, who's a fantastic performer. She's been on Conan, but she's sort of locally based in Australia. When people ask me who are my influences, John Cruikshank, the guy that I mentioned earlier, he's like one of my best friends, but he was also just luckily another influence too. Those two were both influences of mine the whole way and still are. I still enjoy watching those guys. I guess the sign of when you really enjoy someone, like I like watching those guys when they die, even. Like I like watching what they thought was going to be funny. Yeah. I don't love watching when they die. I prefer to watch them when they kill. But a lot of people
that's the clip sorted for.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly.
Yeah, I just like to see where their brain's going still. So like,
yeah.
Also, there are times where a comedian does that, and they've done something that they think is funny. I bet there've been times where you've probably looked at the audience and thought, "Ooh, I think you might be wrong on that one."
Yeah, it can happen. It can definitely happen.
Yeah, I'm more insecure. I'm just like, I'll try something a couple of times if it doesn't work. There's very rarely that I'll stick. There was one joke. It requires for me, this is how insecure I am, it requires a couple of other comedians or someone good to go, like, I love that bit, don't drop that bit. And then I don't drop it, then I keep it going. But like, there was a bit that I tried for ages that a few comedians that I really liked, and I don't usually stick with bits. This is that don't really work. And I remember the joke was that I was like, quite silly, but I was like, you've got Sergeant Pepper and you've got Dr. Pepper. And I said, look, this Pepper family is a pretty talented bunch. You've got to say, you know? don't get me started on their pet pig. Yeah, and sometimes it would get a groan. It would just get this groan, and it was all about the placement in the set. I think I couldn't really figure it out. Like if I had it placed in the right spot in my set, people would come up after me and tell me it was the best joke they've ever heard, and like they loved it, and it's the stupidest thing they've ever heard, and the greatest, and it would be the talking point of like my set. But then also it would die, and it just died too many times. And I
Yeah.
get to do something like Edinburgh or something like that, and you have a bit in your set that you're coming up to each night where you're just like, I fucking hope this goes well. You know, you just, I don't know. I've got so many bankers, so I don't need to, I don't know.
But
Right.
Brett Goldstein has a new bit, and the first time he tried it, the audience didn't go for it, and I do remember thinking, oh no, I think there's something there. And then he tried it again on Friday. That was Friday, wasn't it? The most recent Brett show.
Yeah.
And they really went for it. Sometimes it's just about giving something another go, isn't it?
Well, it's so fickle. Have you ever seen, you want to talk about a podcast, picking up other podcasts? There's this really cool Malcolm Gladwell podcast. I haven't listened to that many, but I sent the odd really good episode from a podcast. So I'll listen to like these cool episodes. And this one was like from Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History, and it's on the life of an piece of art. And it's on the song, you know that Jeff Buckley's song Hallelujah?
Yeah,
So that originally started as a Leonard Cohen song.
that's right.
One of his it was one of the worst songs on that album, or the least successful songs on that album. So it had a gospel choir in the background. It was a bit awkward. That song was then bought and then rewrote, bought, then rewrote, then bought, then rewrote, then bought, then rewrote about 5 or 6 times before it got to Jeff Buckley. Then he bought it and rewrote it, released it, went okay, but it wasn't until he died under mysterious circumstances in this voting thing that it became like this big hit, and now it's sort of like this a song that's quite synonymous with culture in some ways, and
Yeah.
like funerals and weddings or whatever, and or maybe not weddings, but and stuff like that. So it's just sort of the fickleness of a life, of, the life form of a piece of art, you know.
Just to really undervalue the beautiful thing that you just said, the Jeff Buckley song, that Hallelujah also became a chant at Middlesbrough for to bring it back to Australia. Mark Viduka.
Oh wow!
Mark Viduka.
Which is actually my favorite. My two. I've got a few football teams, but Middlesbrough is one of them because I have a friend called James, actually, a non-comedy friend he went to Middlesbrough University, and I met him in Australia when I was like 18 years old, and he would talk about, and at that point, Australia had Mark Schwartz, Middlesbrough had Mark Schwarzer, Mark Viduka. I think we had the backup goalkeeper as well. I can't remember his name.
I've interviewed Mark Schwartzer. He's a really lovely bloke.
You've met him, have you, Matt?
Yeah. When I was a sports writer, I interviewed him when he was at Fulham.
Right.
Lovely guy.
Yeah, so but I like Middlesbrough because they had the most Australians to that team.
Right, that's a great bill. Now, has there been an incident that you would somehow love to replicate at this gig?
Well, I have a joke that was, and I'm sure I've done it always been probably about having a house inspection from my estate agent. And before they come over, I looked them up on Instagram, and I put various photos of them around my house before they came over.
Yes.
I once did a show in Australia, and at the end of the show, what I would do, and this was earlier days, but I had behind the curtain printed off pictures of about 20 or 30 people from the audience, from their social media profiles like that, and I had them as pictures like that. And I'd gone through each of their profiles and taken a couple of facts and remembered them. So I could talk to Sally about working at Red Bull, or I could talk to Jono about going to watch the Netherlands play football or whatever.
No way.
I mean, like Sam Campbell does a lot of cool, fun little live moments and stuff like that. Even if something as little as I remember doing a gig with Helen Bauer not that long ago, and she's doing a bit about this school that she went to in this town, and I think it's Fleet. And there's a girl in the audience that went to that school, and she's like, "No way!" And it's like we don't know what she's talking about, but the energy's electric. And she's like, Do you know Mr. Potter?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Do you know that she was caught having an affair with Mr." And the girl in the audience is like, "No way!" And they're just having this conversation on stage in the middle of a set like that. But it was like,
Yeah.
it was quite funny and infectious and stuff like that. So that is a very weak example of it, but that to a big scale.
We had what, Tim, who was it? Who does the Love Actually routine?
Oh, fuck. I believe, isn't it Shalaka?
I think it's Shalaka Kurup. And she got this routine about Love Actually, and then a girl in the front row, her eyes come out of her head, and Shalaka's like, well, "You okay?" She was in Love Actually, and the room was just, ah!
Oh, actually, I don't know why I didn't remember any of this. In my show in Edinburgh last year, one of the things I did in the show was I got Deliveroo ordered. I had a new membership at Deliveroo. Like I got asked to trial this thing called Deliveroo Diamond Plus, and they guaranteed delivery within 5 minutes. And so I thought it would be quite funny one night when I was in Sydney. I was doing a work in progress show to get one beer delivered to me at half, like in the middle of the show, just one beer would come in, and I'd get it from the guy, and I'd say thank you. And keep going.
That's great. That's great.
And then so I did that this one time, and it developed into this bit, and then I tied it into this other bits I had. And so I was doing this in Edinburgh, and I'm ordering Deliveroo every night. So I've got a driver, my tech's doing it for me, and we've got in the comments, please come in. I'm performing. I will give you a nice tip. And so this one drink was costing me about £15. This one J's cost me about £15 a night. And there's also like fucking 10 people in there each night, and I'm having like these tough, some on the weekends it's fuller, but in the weeks in the weekdays I'm having low numbers. And there's one night when I had this family that have seen me before, and they've kind of, this family have made a point, like they've seen me at really good gigs, and they've made a point of like, I don't know if it's like a thing where they come and see me now, but it's like a thing that they just had a great time the first time. And so they're there, the six of them. So I've got a very support, and I've got a few other people, and I've got about 12 people in there. So it's a small crowd, but it's a great night, this one. And I'm not a fan of saying that usually. I think a good crowd's a big crowd. But they're a nice crowd. The delivery driver comes in, and he comes in halfway through. He gives me my order, and he says, "So what is this?" I said, "Oh, this is a stand-up comedy show." And he goes, "I'm amazed at this. I'm new to the country. I'm amazed at this." I said, "All right." He goes, "Can I stay?" And this is during the show. I'm on stage. He's on stage with me. And I said, "What do you mean, can you stay?" And he goes, "Can I stay here?" Yeah. I said, I guess so. But what do you mean? Don't you have other jobs to go to? This, that. And he puts up his phone in front of everybody. He goes, cancel. He goes, "I stay now." And he sits down in the crowd, right? He sits down in the crowd. And so I start talking. I'm like, I can't really go on with the show with you here. Like, I don't really. There's not enough people for you to be hiding in the crowd. I can't really do it. Like, you're just sitting at the front. And he's sort of sitting there. And then so I started doing a bit of crowd work with him. So I was like, "So what? Tell me. Like, you've just moved here. You're here for 3 days. Have you been to stand-up comedy before?" And as I'm saying this, he goes, "May I?" Like this, he goes, "May I?" And he takes the microphone from me, and he gets up and he talks about himself for about 10 minutes to the audience. And I sat down in the audience, and he talked about himself, the delivery driver, for 10 minutes to the audience. And yeah. So
That is brilliant.
that was actually, I completely forgot about that. I mean, I blank on so many of these questions because there's so many gigs, and I know I've got better answers, but that was actually, it was such a small crowd, one of the most enjoyable things for me to see. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And again, it feels like more art with a capital A. I mean, that's a belter. Now, has there been an incident that must not happen at this gig?
I mean, heckling's always bad. But, I mean,
The great thing about heckling now is that it's so not the done thing that it just never happened. You know, I mean, I'm saying that while performing the Sign of the Cross. I think certainly what we've got to always be comedy is if someone was to heckle, they would look. I mean, they'd look potty.
I mean, but it's not even a good example because your room is one of the nicest rooms in the world. So it's like it can't be happening there. But like but I'll tell you a little bit of a trope that I heard before I came to England.
Yeah.
It was, watch out, don't get gigs around Christmas time. That's what people would tell you in Australia. Like they'd be like, don't get gigs around Christmas time in England. It's gonna be there were like kind of folklore about like sort of comedy over here and stuff like that.
I would say that is accurate.
And then there would be like that was a big thing. Don't get gigs, and
Tim and I used to do Christmas shows at a different company. I mean, that was just like, we all knew what we were in store for. That was like, put your tin hat on and just plow through it.
Yeah, you're right though. I do feel like heckling. It doesn't so much happen. Maybe it's more of an Australian thing. It's happened to me in Edinburgh before, but you'd get people coming and heckling, and they don't realise they're doing the wrong thing. Not in a harsh way, but they're just like, I'm just adding to the show. You know, why are you kicking me out? I was just trying to be, oh, is it wrong to laugh because they're getting kicked out, sort of thing like that.
We had a guy the other night, and he was so lovely, and he was joining in, but he had to be told. But God, you know what? Tim, wasn't he just the nicest bloke as well?
He was nice. That's where it's tricky because some people, they don't realise
they're just having a great night.
It's really tricky. But
some comedians, they asked a question, but the question that they're asking themselves the question because it's part of the routine. So I can't remember what it was, but let's say it was, I'm holding a mug here, and what did I have to drink? And then they're going to get to the next bit, and this guy was, But Tim's right. That's one where it's so tricky because the guy was guilty of having an amazing night.
And if you don't go to comedy, but you've watched comedy in any fictionalized version of stand-up comedy, there is a heckler.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Like, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, James, to a degree, but I often hear people saying and worrying that these crowd work clips that have been put online so much are provoking audience participation and heckling and stuff like that. More so in the early days of that sort of those reels that would come out. But I remember comedians used to say like, oh yeah, it's training audiences to think that heckling's okay and stuff like that. But I don't think
really
I think the quality of gigs that I'm doing nowadays, and I don't mean that in such a snobby way, but I try to veer away.
In the US, they're really clamping down on comedians doing crowd work. They're really. From what a comedian told me and Tim, it's almost outlawed. Like you're not allowed to do it.
Why? Because it's just seen as.
Also, I suppose if you're the comedy night, you're paying for the set. You're not paying them to clip farm.
I disagree because you can watch the best sets in the world from the comfort of your own home. You're paying for the live experience.
Hang on, I've just lobbing that out there. I've not canvassed the promoters of America. That's me just guessing what the reason must be.
I agree.
Or maybe, and again, I don't know, but maybe they're thinking, if comedians are trying to clip farm, what if they're not very good at it? And then you're making the night a bit shit.
I feel like crowd work in general, as of late, has gotten a bad rap, and probably rightfully so, because it's just been done so hamily. But hamily? I don't know what you know what I'm trying to say. But
What do you mean?
I guess it's like any improv, right? Any improv. This is improv in general. It is shit for the most part, But the top 1% of improv, in my opinion, is almost as pure as comedy can get. Like if it's how is this happening? How is it? It's kind of cool. So like, so I'm not against the crowd work, but I'm not. I can see how these clips online, comedian-owned hecklers and stuff like that. I think my prediction is there's going to be a reverse clip. They're going to come for us, the hecklers. There's going to be hecklers' own comedians. And there's going to be clips like that coming out soon, you know?
Well, that's one thing we do clamp down. If anyone is recording, we immediately swoop down and please don't do that, dude. We had someone at a gig and they were doing it. Someone on the front row, right? If you're listening to this, I'll have to describe it. But they were doing it in like they sort of had the phone under like that. So what I've got is I've got my arms folded and I'm sneakily recording at the side of my body with the hand on the other side. So they were sat on the front row like that. This was as I walked on stage.
Yeah, I remember it. I
had to go, dude, are you recording? I cannot be. And then they had to stop and put the phone up. I mean, fucking hell.
The Thailand bootleg.
Oh.
He just WhatsApped 2 set. Oh, it's his battery. Bless him.
Oh, fuck. Wow. I hadn't considered that. Oh.
Ray, how are you?
Good, man. I'm sorry. My laptop wasn't charging. It was turned off. It was plugged in but not charging. So it just switched off. So I'm just trying to load it back up right now. Sorry about that.
Hang on. For gag value...
Pardon me?
Why don't we... Shall we do the end bit like this, Tim?
I can put Zoom on my phone. I could do it.
Hang on. Tim, can you hear Ray?
Just about. If you
right,
really push up your mic and let's see.
Here we go. Right, Ray, it's the very last question. I think this is very on brand for Ray Badran. This is perfect. The laptop was plugged in. It wasn't charging. So the very last question, Ray, how do you unwind after a gig?
I watch TV, man. I watch shit TV. I go home and watch shit TV, yeah, most of the time. Yeah. So I'll watch some shitty documentary but it can't be anything too good. Like you can't be watching a good series. You know, it has to be just mindless shit, yeah. So and yeah. You used to be like Simpsons and stuff like that, but then I sort of got comedied out. So now it's more like a serious documentary.
Go on. What are we talking?
Oh, we're talking whatever dribble they're bringing out. No, I'm trying not to. I try to steer away from the true crime, but I like your binge-worthy doco series, you know. So yeah, something like that, something good like that.
Right, it's the perfect ending to the perfect Ray Badran experience. We love you enormously. Thanks for everything, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me on, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Ray.
Lovely to chat. Thanks, guys.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, mate.
Bye.
Perfect. Huge and heartfelt thanks to lovely Ray Badran. Tim, do you have a favourite Ray Badran memory?
Ooh, I sort of don't have one specific thing. I just always love seeing him. He gigs here quite often, so I get to him a lot, which is lovely. I think, do you know what Ray's very good at? He's very good at a TV recommendation. So I've always come across quite interesting, lesser-known things as a result of Ray Badran. So I'm going to say it's Ray Badran's TV recommendations.
Please share with us one of those recommendations for anyone that's looking to binge something over Christmas.
Oh, okay. So I think there's a series called How To with John Wilson, which I think is on iPlayer. Certainly one of the series is on iPlayer. And it's a really fascinating... It is comedy. It's Nathan Fielder produced. Nathan Fielder, the guy behind The Rehearsal, The Curse, Nathan Few, all that stuff. That's a very Ray Badran-y sort of thing. ABC
Adam said the other night that I wouldn't like what's it called? The Chair? Is it called The Chair Shop or something?
The Chair Company.
God, it really hurt my feelings there.
I think he would like The Chair Company. I certainly think, it's on now/Sky. So I think it's something to watch over Christmas and see how you get on with it. I think you would like it.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
But yes, How To with John Wilson, and also Red Fern Electrical, which I really would recommend to everyone. That's on YouTube. Ray Badran's got a cameo in it. It's Ray Badran's fantastic recommendations. He knows culture.
Oh, he knows culture. What a lovely thing to say. Mine would be, because we've loved Ray for a long time, Tim. I was warming up Jonathan Ross's comedy club on lockdown. Do you remember that show?
Yes, I do.
And who pops up for a set? Badders.
Brilliant. Absolutely great. That show's casting was really good. It was really interesting. I think it was the first time Fatty El Ghori was on TV. And
Laura Smith?
Laura Smith was on it.
Alice
Alice Brine, Mawan Rizwan was a regular on it. It was really well cast. I thought it was really interesting.
How is that 5 years ago? Sunil was on it.
Sunil was on it. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, Beckett absolutely roofed it. If you can find his set, I don't know if they're on YouTube, but you will hear my squawk.
yeah, absolutely. I think it was very well cast. In the same way, well, Harry Hill's Club Night is maybe my favourite casting of a stand-up show in years. I really thought that summed up alternative comedy perfectly.
You're absolutely right. I've got the cast here for, I say cast, the acts. Fern Brady, Joanne McAnally as well.
Oh wow, yeah, of course.
Kay Rye, Hugh Davis, of course. Very good. Well
Very
done,
good.
Buckers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, yeah.
And for more great booking, come to Always Be Comedy. Tim, mine would have to be that.
Yeah.
But there's so many. Ray Badran's one of those dudes. He's such a lovely guy as well, isn't he?
Oh, he's an absolute joy to have around. Yeah, a wonderful person.
We were WhatsApping each other last night, and then I WhatsApped their number 7 is the best player in the world, and I'd sent Ray a message that was intended for the Crystal Palace WhatsApp group. It could have been a lot worse, I suppose.
Yeah, of course. What did he say to that?
Tonight, Emily, you wear the red ones. What did he say to that? I think he's just like, what is going on? And then I had to explain, because Palace were in Europa Conference League action last night, and we got beat in Strasbourg, and they're number 7. Obviously, when I say things like that, it's that thing of being like slight tongue-in-cheek, but also giving someone a compliment,
Yeah.
Their number 7 with he was a handful. Anyway, it's not about Crystal Palace, this podcast, whether I like it or not. So what, Tim, I listened back to the Mark Steele episode. It's not really for us to say this. I thought that's Hall of Fame episode, that for me.
Yeah, it is. I think that's immediately top 5 for me. I
think that might be top 5.
And look, that's not me patting myself on the back. Mark was unbelievable.
Yeah, sorry, when we say things like this, that's not us saying, and because it's a tribute to the guest.
It's compliment to a guest.
Ray, if you're listening, hey, everyone's top 5. I mean, to be fair, this is a banger as well. And as soon as it finished, me and Tim were like, that was perfect.
Well, it literally ends perfectly, as you will have heard.
It's the most Badran ending imaginable.
That's not far off my favourite memory, actually, now I think about it.
We won't have it any other way. Yeah. Look, we'll hopefully see you at a show soon. And thank you very much for all your support. We're always very grateful. #2gratefulboys. See you soon. Oh, here's a little Christmas treat. If you're not on the newsletter and want to get on it, please drop us an email. We think we've added everyone who's emailed. But if you email and I'm on the school run or whatever, I might miss the email. So drop us an email if you want to join the secret newsletter. In the past few weeks alone, we've had secret shows with the likes of Stephen Merchant, Brett Goldstein, Aisling B, many, many more. Anyway, see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.